All right, how's everybody doing? It is the Chase Carter Concept Podcast for Thursday, December 10th. How's everybody doing? I'm doing okay. I did something real stupid just a second ago. There's no big consequences from it, but I got a new video game. Cyberpunk 2077 is supposed to be the big new game out right now. I got a physical copy of it, and it comes with 2 discs, but I pre-installed it. You can pre-install a game, and then when your disc comes, you just put in the game, and it recognizes that you have the game installed, and you can just play it instead of having to wait the hour or two to install it. Doesn't really matter. I just pre-installed it just because. And so when I put the game disc in, they said you have to have an update. So I downloaded the update, 15 gigabyte update. And then I put the first disc is in, and I go to play the game, and it says you have to put in the game disc. And I'm like, okay, that means the second disc is the game disc. Put that one in. It's still saying you don't have the game. Go to the Microsoft store if you want to play it and buy the game. I'm like, what the hell? Maybe it's a weird glitch. Maybe I have to install the game from the disc itself. So I uninstall the game, and I take the second disc out. The disc was upside down. I don't know how this happened. I don't know why I'm so dumb. But now I'm downloading everything again off the disc and off the network, updating, getting the update and downloading the game itself. But good Lord, because I think that the CD is a little bit see-through. So when I saw Cyberpunk, I saw it on the others, but it didn't register that it was reversed. And so I don't know what's wrong with me, to be honest. I'm going to blame it on the pandemic. It's gotten me a little crazy. That's just anything that goes wrong, blame it on that. But this game is, at least I'm happy that I got the, hey, you 2 cats be nice. These 2 cats are fighting. They were just licking each other. Now they're, yeah, better calm down over there. But anyway, it comes in this cool sleeve. It has like the normal video game case if you've played video games, but it has a sleeve that goes over it, and you take the sleeve off, and it looks exactly the same. It's kind of cool. On the back, Night City changes everybody. And is it everybody or everybody? See, everybody's one word, everybody. So it's like this futuristic game where people are getting robot machine augmentation done to them, and it's supposedly a huge, cool story. Hold on a second, I gotta sneeze. Oh, excuse me, held that one in. You're welcome. Cyberpunk is set in 2077, is an open-world action-adventure story set in Night City, a metropolis obsessed with power, glamour, and body modification. You play as V, or the Roman numeral 5. Do I call him 5? A mercenary outlaw going after a one-of-a-kind implant that is key to immortality. You can customize your character's cyberware, skill set, and playstyle, and explore the vast city where the choices you make shape the story and the world around you. So, there's a guy on the cover. He's got a cool jacket with a gun on it, of course. Games with characters that have guns on it are very, very important. But the thing I wanted to talk about do you remember when you were little, when you were a little kid and you got Nintendo games and the booklet was thick and it had a whole bunch of story elements to it and concept art and drawings? Well, and you know how that stopped right around the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and these companies cut costs? Well, I am happy to announce that this game goes back to that. I didn't even know, and this is the normal version. This isn't even the special edition. They still have those special editions, but they charge you $100 for all these things. So this little sleeve comes with it. It comes with an instruction manual that I want to read to you verbatim, but I'm not going to. It has over 20 pages in it. Instruction manuals now have 3 pages, and actually kind of tells you about the game. It comes with these little in-game postcards that you could technically, if you wanted to, send in real life, but I'm not going to. Not going to. They're postcards to say if you were a character in the game and you wanted to send a postcard. And it shows different parts of the city. like their style and everything. It's a really cool little effect, really cool little touch. There's one like it shows like these hotels on a beach, really cool looking. And then there's a map, a Night City map, and it is I would want to say foot and a half. It's a really cool little like game map, and you don't see that anymore. You don't see these little touches. So when the game came out and people were all, oh, it's buggy and it has all these issues. Well, I don't think it's going to remain that way. I think they'll fix it. This developer seems like they actually care. They put all this effort into a standard package that for me costs $50. So I'm for this game. Haven't even played it yet. I'm a big fan already. That's really all I wanted to talk about that for. Let me put this back in the case so it's all nice and neat. Now you special little game. Yes, you are. But it's the first time I've ever, in a long time, gotten a game. And I don't know, the case was like the case matters. How it looks matters. What you get in it. I think that's a big step. So I hope games kind of go back to that way. Granted, they've been working on this game for 8 damn years, so they should add a whole bunch of cool little stuff to it. However, now we're back into things that Corie said, Corie Stories. Why do women give you options? Hey, hey, what do you want to eat tonight? Chicken or salmon? And then you're like, and you say, oh, I just want some chicken. Chicken sounds good. Well, actually, could we have pasta and meatballs instead? It's like, well, if you were thinking that, why didn't you just say, hey, I want to eat pasta and meatballs? Is this some kind of like wedding game where we have to match what we're thinking? And that wasn't even an option. It was C, none of the above. But we were supposed to go do stuff. And she wanted to leave at a certain time. And she's like, do you want to leave at, what was it, 7 or 8? And I said, well, we can leave here around 8 because the place closes at like 9. I think it was 9 or 10. And I think it was 9. And she's like, do you want to leave at 8 or 7? And I said, we'll leave around 8. Give us an hour. That's fine. She goes, let's leave at 7:45. Well, then the option wasn't real. This whole thing isn't real. I'm not real. These choices that I have in my life aren't real. And I wonder if that's a woman thing, or like, do they want to make a choice, but have the choice be somebody else's? That way, in case anything goes wrong, they can blame it on somebody else. Is that the reason? Or is it this illusion that I'm in control, or it's like this is a shared experience? Like if you wanted to leave at 7:45, just tell me you want to leave at 7:45. Don't make me jump through hoops. These fictional, imaginary hoops. I thought that was pretty funny. And then we were on Xbox Live, and we were talking. I'm about to sneeze again. Jesus. Let me see if I can do this. Hold it in. Mm-hmm. These cats, I swear to God. She was we were watching Meat Eater, which she doesn't want to watch anymore. She wants to watch Queen's Gambit for the second time. Jesus. And she loves that story because it's it shows like a female foster child getting out of there by her brain and her wits alone, becoming something, and she relates to that. And it's fun. It's like it means so much more to her than it does to me. I'm like, oh, this girl's really good at chess. She's really smart. That's awesome. For her, it's this whole deep psychological experience. And so we were watching Meat Eater until she put the kibosh on that. And she wants to eat birds, and she wonders what peasants taste like. That's what she said. She's like, oh, all these different, because they were shooting some kind of bird that was like some, not exotic bird, but it's a bird there's plenty of them out there, but it's just a different type of bird that we usually don't see. And she's like, oh, I want to eat more birds. I wonder what peasant tastes like. And I look at her, I'm like, Peasant? You wonder what a peasant tastes like. I'm like, I'm guessing they're not very good. And she looks at me and she goes, why would you say that? I was like, you mean pheasant. That's what you mean. You mean a pheasant. You don't mean, a peasant is a poor person. Someone beneath you. And she goes, I said peasant. Ah ha 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 ha. She burst out laughing. So yeah, Corie either misspoke or she's a cannibal. One of the two. But if she was a cannibal and she was high class, she would eat the peasants. Or would you be high class where you only eat other people of high stature? That's interesting. If you're a cannibal, do you have a certain palate for certain types of people? Because if you're poor, less fat on your bones, more lean meats, you're working. I mean, granted, in America, there's poor fat people here all the time. So it all depends. Do you want as someone who's active, someone in the middle, or do you want someone who's lazy and lays around all the time? Who knows? It's kind of an interesting thought. I'm going to pause this for a second and fix my nose. Hold on a second. I started sneezing last night, and Corie goes, why are you sneezing? I'm like, it's because you have cats and I'm allergic. She goes, oh yeah, I forgot. That's how she talks in my head. I forgot. But I think I already talked about that. Oh, me and my friend Ray just had an interesting conversation about religion. I just want to talk this out in my head because I don't understand. I understand why people are religious, and it's because the universe is big, it's scary, there's things that we don't understand. So the easiest way to explain everything is to say some all-powerful being is in control of it. And that's what there's this argument that I heard that I like. It's God of the gaps. So whatever thing we don't understand about the universe at that time, that moment in time, is explained. Oh, well, it's God. God's creation. And even some of the greatest scientists in the world in the past have explained scientific mysteries like that. It was like, oh, it's I forget. I think it was Einstein who was religious. It's mysteries that only the gods can solve. But then, decades later, someone used Einstein's principles and other people's, theories to prove whatever he thought was impossible to understand, and we understood it. I forget exactly what it was. I'm doing a great job explaining it, I know. But he was, what was I saying? Something along the lines of doubting God's existence, and then asked me, I think people always make the argument, he made the argument, well, it's better to believe than not to believe, because what if I'm wrong when I say I doubt God and I don't, if I had to bet money, I would say God doesn't exist in the whole biblical New Testament. Jesus, he sent his son here to die on the cross and all of that. I would say, well, that's not true. I just think that's a way, it's a way religious people back then wanted to control the masses, I think, or just some kind of way, this power trip kind of thing. I would say, it would be my guess. It's like, what would you think is, as far as everything I've seen, granted, I look at an endless forest and I'm just like, wow, I was like, I can't imagine creating this, or I can't imagine even coming up with this. And so you see, I don't know, God in nature. I've had that feeling before, but then am I just, because I'm so dumb and small that I think that I'm right to think that there is some creative being, like, oh, this is beautiful. Now, is there a prime mover aspect to it? There's all these different theories. And let's go back. I'm getting off topic here. But he said it's better to believe than not to believe, because if I'm wrong, I've lost everything. And because if he's wrong, he's lost nothing. And that's incorrect, because then you wasted your whole life. If you only have one life and you wasted it believing in something that's not true, then you have lost something. You've lost the most important thing, your life. Now, granted, I don't know if living a life a true religious life, how they actually, not these crazy religious nuts that say you should kill people for being gay or different, like we see in other countries where it's illegal um, to be a certain way or not. I'm just saying, like a normal religious person that is God fearing, believes in God, do the right thing. There's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing. In fact, I think it's a great way for people to live their lives. And but I don't think it's exclusive to religious people. I don't think you have to be religious to be obviously a good person. And but just that simple fact that, and I've heard my mother say this, that fact, it's better to believe than not to believe because you can lose so much. And so, but that's just a very weak argument to say, like, well, you're hedging your bets. Basically, you're not believe if you're believing on that instance, if you use that as an argument to believe in God, then you're hedging your bets. Um, you're just believing in him just in case. That if you're using that, if that's like one of your arguments, you can use that, but you don't want to tell a non-believer that, or someone you're trying to convince that God, you can't convince God exists anyway, is because it's all about belief. If you knew God existed, then that's not belief anymore, it's knowledge. And people are like, oh, I know God exists. And it's like, no, you don't. If you knew God exists, if God put like evidence, facts that is like can be sustained through history other than the written word, then everyone would believe in one God. But there's not. There's all these different stories. There's different artifacts. There's different versions of Noah's flood story that we've found that was written before the Bible was. So it's all these weird things that were dated back. Now science, you can argue with science and say, well, they don't know how to properly date things because science is always disproving its like theories and its thoughts. We come out with something new, some other kind of device that detects something. And it's like, well, actually, that thing that we thought was 1,000 years old is actually 10,000 years old. So it's all these different, there's like watermarks on the Sphinx. And we think the Sphinx was built, 5,000 years ago. Well, water wasn't in Egypt by our, what was it? Our computer. I can't even think of the right words. Our computer databases show that there wasn't rainfall here until 10,000 years ago. So that means the Sphinx is over 10,000 years old. But I don't know, but just the simple fact of believing God, I'm getting off on a tangent, because you're hedging your bets is a very bad way of looking at it. And to say something is wrong, I think it was, I shared a story. There was a meme. It said a Hungarian politician resigns. Oh, what was it? I got to look this up because I think in Hungary it's illegal to be gay, and that's what it. Hungarian politician scandal. Yeah, this guy. Hungary politician resigns after party. Yeah. So it's illegal to be gay in Hungary. And so he resigns after authorities saw him leaving a 25-man orgy. And so I read this to Ray, and I'm all, dude, this guy is in a country where it is illegal to be gay. And not only is he having sex with men, he's having sex with 25 total dudes. 24. That's insane. And then, then Raymond says, I don't even have 25 people that would come to a party. And this guy was like, well, technically he's a politician. He's probably paying a lot of them to be there. And then that gets me to the whole thing where if you're part of an organization that vehemently criminalizes something or discriminates against a certain culture or thing, or there's a good chance that you're doing exactly that. There's a good chance. It's all these priests that are anti-gay that say it's wrong, and then you come to find out that they're hooking up with all these different male prostitutes, and it's just like, well, come on, guys, you can disagree with it. You can say, yeah, I don't like it. It turns me off, but you can do whatever you want. It's no big deal. Like when I see two girls kissing, it's fine on TV. And I see two guys kissing, it makes my stomach turn for some reason. I don't know what it is. Why is it okay for two girls? Because I'm attracted, but then I talk to other women. I'm a woman now, and now I'm not one. I talk to women, and some of them say the same thing. They're like, yeah, when two girls kiss, it's fine. But when two guys kiss, it kind of puts me off. Now, is that society putting that in your head? I don't know. It's just an interesting, but that's what started our whole religious thing. And I'm like, I don't think it's, if your religion says that it's wrong to be gay, I don't think, like, there's animals that are gay. There's chimpanzees, male chimpanzees that rape other male chimpanzees. So, like, if nature, but then, like, of course, this whole world is sinful. So I don't understand. I don't understand. Basically, the whole thing is I don't understand. I don't get it. It's a very interesting conversation, because then it's like, well, God's this impotent being. He's a spiritual being. You're not supposed to understand him. He's not human. He doesn't have human emotions like us. But in the Bible, he gets mad and angry and jealous. He made Abraham almost kill his son to prove. That's what I don't understand. That's what I don't get. So if God knows what's in your heart, you hear that all the time. God knows what's truly in your heart. Like, you make a mistake, you mess up, and then priest say, God knows your true intentions. He knows what's really inside your heart. So if God knows what's truly inside your heart, why did he test Abraham's faith, his belief? So obviously he doesn't know, or he's just an evil asshole. He likes to mess with people. Could you imagine? Like, that's a dick move to make a man kill his son. It's like, do you really believe in me? Yeah. Then you would stab your son to death for me. A thing that would say that is not someone who I would want to follow. If that's true and that happened, I don't want to follow that person. Okay? That is not a nice person. And then at the last minute, I'm just kidding. Psych, you proved it. I knew you were going to do it. Well, if you knew he was going to do it, then you would have known that prior to this whole conversation, this whole line of decisions would have even happened. So that doesn't make any sense. Well, I want to do this so then he writes a story about it, and then I seem cool and understanding because I let his child live. Oh, gee. Like, to show an example of how devoted you should be to me if you're religious. Like, no. If I worshiped a God, then that God told me to kill my child, I'm not going to worship that God anymore. Even if he was real and was standing in front of me and telling me to do it. I'm like, no, you're an asshole. If you want him dead, you do it. Just how if I was in the mafia, I would lean towards hey, boss, do you want this? Of course, I would be killed instantly. I would say, boss, I'm not going to kill this guy. Did nothing to me. You want him dead? He's right here. I'll bring him to you. I'll bring him to you. But you kill him. I'm not going to kill him for you. You want him dead. You want him dead. I would be the mob worker who just, like, he only kills if he's fired upon first, or if someone wronged him. I wouldn't be a very good mob guy. Let's just say that. But yeah, the whole thing is weird. And then I wonder why does God and Jesus not like the devil? If the devil's from heaven, he's a former agent, he's a former angel. Why? What is their beef that can't be resolved? You're supposed to forgive, right? He's this all forgiving being. All you have to do is ask for forgiveness. And really, God created us to be stubborn in a way. So he knows. So say if he knows what's really in our hearts, like I've said before. So if the devil was good enough to be an angel, but now he's bad and he's going to rule over hell for all of eternity and be miserable. And is the devil miserable? I don't know. And some people are saying, just because I don't believe, well, you're going to find out, Chase. You're going to find out if he's miserable. And if he's miserable, wouldn't he want to do everything to get into God's good graces again? Or is this good and bad all a big lie? And that's what it seems like. Like what I'm betting on is when I die, it's going to be just like before I was born. I'm not going to remember anything. That's what it's going to be like. It's just going to be nothing. And for our brains to understand nothing, like what's your first memory? My earliest memory is a basketball was in my hand and staring up at a basketball hoop. And my brother Leonard was on my left and my dad was on my right. And I went to shoot it and the ball didn't even get anywhere near the hoop. It was just like I pushed it up and it fell back down to my feet. And the ball was almost as big as me. That's my first memory in my life. So I'm thinking, well, if I don't remember anything before that, I don't remember the World Wars, I don't remember the Civil War, I don't remember that's how the future is going to be after you die. Nothing. You're not going to remember shit. It's just an interesting little thought experiment. And what's even I want to transition into this. There's an Amazon payment method that lets you, because people are saying, well, companies are going to put chips in your hands, man. They're going to track you with these chips, and that's going to be the end of times. You don't think these companies are going to come up with another way, an easier access way to identify who you are? You don't think these billion-dollar, basically trillion-dollar companies? Go Google Amazon hand payment system. This was on September 2020. Amazon will now let you pay with your palm in its stores, and it hopes that at other retailer stores in the future. Amazon wants shoppers at its stores and those other retailers to pay with the palm, or to pay by palm, with Amazon One. Amazon accounts for nearly 40% of e-commerce sales in the U.S. today, and it takes a cut of even more online shopping by selling payment services and other technologies to external shopping sites. Now the online retail giant is making a play to grab a piece of the brick and mortar shopping too, and it wants customers to literally lend a hand to do it. Amazon on Tuesday unveiling a new biometric technology called Amazon One that allows shoppers to pay at stores by placing their palm over a scanning device when they walk in the store and when they check out. The first time they register to use this tech, a customer will scan their palm and insert a payment card at a terminal. After that, they can simply pay with their hand. One scanning tech isn't just for Amazon stores. The company hopes to sell it to other retailers, including competitors too. The technology will be available at the entrance of two of the company's Amazon Go cashierless convenience stores in Seattle, Washington, starting Tuesday, and will roll out the rest of the chain's 20-plus stores in the future. Amazon Vice President Dilip Kumar told Recode in an interview Monday. Recode reported in December that Amazon had filed a patent for such a hand payment technology. What I want them to talk about is how it actually works. Goes beyond local. Kumar wouldn't comment on potential Whole Food, but the Amazon executive did make it clear that the company expects to sell technology in other retailers. And got a plan to license these two homegrown technologies, but obviously, software capabilities, internet, click that on Amazon One Shop. Okay, so how it was explained to me in this other article that I wrote, or that I read, excuse me, it scans your blood vessels. So your veins in your hands, I guess, are unique. There's nothing. It's not a fingerprint tracker. It tracks the vessels in your hand. So that's unique to you, just like a fingerprint is. I guess I don't understand this stuff. And you just wave your hand over the scanner. You don't even touch anything, so it's touchless. So in this new day of germs and COVID's going to get you if you go outside and touch anything. Everything has to be wiped down. This is a completely touchless system, besides, of course, bagging your groceries, that you can just go in, wave your hand over this little scanner. You don't have to implement any chips inside your hands. That's why I always thought people saying like putting in chips to identify you was so stupid. I was like, they're going to figure out a way to do it. And in my head, I'm thinking, why don't they just use your fingerprint? You just put your fingerprint down on something and then it identifies you and it pays for you. But then people are like, hey, that involves my security, bro. But in this, they're just going to be like, yeah, wave your hand over it. It doesn't, it just scans your blood, your veins inside of your hand. And that's not as personal, I think it would feel, than your fingerprint. Because your fingerprint has stuff to do with the criminal justice system. And you're like, I don't want the FBI to know what my fingerprint looks like. But now they're going to have. But then, do you want the FBI to know your blood vessel type or your blood vessel layout? I don't know. I don't think people are going to be that upset over it because you don't want, because facial recognition got pushed back, fingerprint scans have got a little pushback. Besides using it on your phone, people have an interesting. As long as it lets you use your cell phone, everything's fine with it. It's just like what was it? When the Xbox One came with Kinect, one of the reasons people didn't want to get it is because they didn't want a camera in their house. They're like, I don't want a camera and a microphone in my house. And I'm like, you're talking to me on your cell phone. What are we talking about here? The same thing that you said you're afraid of on the Kinect is in your cell phone. That's always on. You can unplug your Xbox, but your cell phone always has a charge. So what is your real, you creating a fake issue out of nothing? It's just kind of an interesting like mind hurdle to get over inside of your head. Let's see here. What other things did I write down that I wanted to talk about today? Okay, so I'm playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, or not Odyssey, Valhalla. So this next 20 minutes or so are going to be on video games. So if you don't like video games, get out of here. Actually, here, hold on a second. I want to make sure, because it just takes forever to load. So when I save articles that I want to talk about that are interesting. And then when I load them up, and then when I go to them again, they have to load again for the 800th time. So this is an interesting story. It's a Cyberpunk game that I was talking about earlier. Has parts in the game that you control to give people seizures in the game. So it's like this weird, I don't know, robot inducing kind of thing, but they actually use the same method. Doctors in real life, they have, I guess it's just white, red flashing lights that triggers seizures. So an update has been booted. So you can see the warning in full below and posted. Yeah, so it says CD Projekt Red responds to reports of Cyberpunk 2077, including seizure-inducing sequences. So you as the gamer, I guess, people are trying to give you a seizure, and it's a first-person game, and everything is in first person. So you actually see the flashing lights. So now, and then people saw that and said, hey, you have to put another warning onto it. So they did, obviously. So we tried to get ahead of this by having them more digestible. We will also issue a special post on social media warning people about the potential trigger in the game, the brain dance device. Yeah, so there's a device that, I guess, induces seizures. Nothing warning here. More important too, the text reads, if you and someone you live with suffers from epileptic condition, talk to your doctor before jacking into Cyberpunk 2077. Game Informer originally reported on Monday that Cyberpunk 2077's brain dance sequences, a sort of storytelling tool wherein players interface with recordings of a person's memory, contain a series of red and flashing LED lights that deeply resemble the actual process by which doctors trigger seizures in patients. Game Informer's Rupert reported that as a result of this sequence, they experience a grand mal. Game Informer's Rupert reported that as a result of this sequence, they experience a grand mal seizure. What's a grand mal seizure? Let me look that. No, that's not what I wanted. To the Mayo Clinic. Copy. Let's go back over. Yeah. Can I open another? tab here. Oh, I got to open up this. And then the other thing I got to do. Oh, geez. Nope, don't want that. Nope, don't want that. I apologize for this. I want to know what a grand mal seizure is. What is that? A little education here. Seizures are signs. Grand mal seizure. Generalization. Grand mal seizure symptoms. Grand mal, also known as a generalized tonic-clonic seizure, is caused by abnormal electrical activity throughout the brain. Usually, a grand mal seizure is caused by epilepsy, but sometimes this type of seizure can be triggered by other health problems such as extremely low blood sugar, a high fever, or a stroke. That's interesting. So it's a type of seizure, I guess. But I wonder why it's called the Grand Mal seizure. Grand Mal sounds like a Star Wars bad guy. Game Informer reports and mentioned several other instances where glitching or lighting effects in Night City dance clubs could potentially cause seizures or epilepsy complications as well. The inclusion of seizure inducing effect, seemingly making it pass quality assurance and certified measures, sparked anger and disbelief from the video game community late Monday. Unbelievable. These features are unsafe and should be avoided at all costs. Give me a seizure, please. Give me a seizure. And then I wrote a joke saying that this is a good way to get rid, like during the holidays when your family comes over, to get rid of that second cousin you never liked. Just have him play Cyberpunk a little bit. Has a seizure, and you're just sitting there like, yes, got rid of him. A little asshole second cousin you don't like, get rid of him. He's a second cousin, so he's not family. Did you just condone killing family? No, I didn't. Second cousin. Not related. Somebody's going to go back here. I'm going to go back. I don't want to know. About, see, it goes to load. I had it preloaded again, so I didn't have to do it. And I go back to it, and then it just loads all up again. Collections. Doesn't matter if I do it right. It's just going to still mess with me. Current disappointing launch news. Okay, cool. Game Pass teases fans. Exciting week. I know the Xbox Game Pass has Control. I got to play that game. There's so many games. I got to finish this. I got to finish Assassin's Creed, which I think I'm near complete. So I want to talk about Assassin's Creed for the remaining portion of the podcast. Also a video game podcast with my friend Raymond Woods called Video Games and Nonsense. You can check that out on YouTube and Spotify and all that good stuff. But I want to talk about my experiences in Assassin's Creed. My dislikes. I want to go dislikes first right now. When you shoot sleeping NPCs with a bow, it makes them stand up and do some weird animation, and then they die instead of just laying there and getting shot. I've experienced that multiple times, so I'm wondering why that is. And then there's this weird religious cult you run into. Speaking of religion again, where their apples are are their main fruit, and so you have to carry this crate of apples to this church with this monk druid type person, and then when you bob for apples, they keep talking about Bob and his apples. So then you're like, well, that's close to bobbing apples. What are they talking about? So then when you get the crate of apples to its destination, they put the apples in a barrel of water, and then they legitimately bob for apples. These two priests are sitting there doing it. But then when so I sat there for like a minute or two watching this animation play out, and it's kind of different every time. But then when the character gets the apple in its mouth, it's never in its mouth. It's always to the side or like on his eyes or his nose. And of course, I would say updates will eventually fix that in the future. Bobbing for apples. I don't know. There's a more Raven Clan. Oh yeah, the Raven Clan. Okay, this is what I want to understand. The whole game is based around your clan, and it's called the Raven Clan. So the first shield you get has ravens on it. You have this raven tattoo on your head, which you can remove, which is weird. I wish you could add to your facial tattoos. I don't like how I don't enjoy. I have to stop saying the word like. I did a podcast with my friend Raymond, and almost every other damn word was like. And I wanted to kill myself. But not as me, as a person who listens to it when I was editing the podcast. It was just like. And I wanted to, oh, Jesus. But even when I say, hey, do you like this? I'm like, yeah, I like it. I want to say enjoy instead. I don't even want to use the word when it's appropriate. But they have this whole system over the Raven Clan and your devotion to it. The meaning behind the Raven Clan. You go to England as a Viking. You land there. You start your Raven Clan settlement. You build it up. Everything is based off of this Raven Clan. And you meet other clans throughout your journey, and you align with them. You align with them, and then I'm guessing apparently I'm going to have to fight I'm aligning with all these different clans, and then at the end I'm going to have to face a big bad guy with a whole big army, and then those clans are going to show up, kind of like Avengers Assemble at the end of the game, which is what I'm thinking. Otherwise, why have all these clans be friends with all these clans? Doesn't make any sense. But so they have cosmetics in the game, and so when you get these cosmetics in the game, they're let's see, your Raven Clan armor, your Raven Clan pants, or your Raven Clan shoulder pads, shoulder armor, whatever you want to call it. But then they give you armor cosmetics for other clans. Well, why do I want to dress up as those other? I'm not them. Now, maybe if I were to sneak into their camp and for them not to recognize me, I can have their gear on. That would make sense. But why would I want to walk around the world representing the Raven Clan in some other clan's gear? That doesn't make sense to me. And then there's, what was it? When you go to Asgard, there's this weird like drug sequence where you take this drug and you basically hallucinate going to Asgard and meeting Loki and Thor and that whole bunch. So this mythological world realm thing. But then when you get back to the real world, you can have Asgard themed gear or put them on the boats or tattoos. And I'm just thinking, like, why would I do that? I'm the Raven Clan. So give me different versions of Raven Clan gear. Give me different Raven symbols. Give me different Raven maybe colors, or just different variations of the Raven Clan. There's one Raven Clan cosmetic. There's another, there's a reindeer clan. So I'm just wondering why. I don't know if that's too difficult to put in the game or just too redundant. But I never want to take off my Raven gear ever. I don't want to take it off. I'm committed to, and then I was so committed that in the story, you have you're not his actual brother. I think you're adopted brother, of the son of a king, of a Viking king, and so I think you're like third or fourth basically in command. You're right under the son of the king, the prince. The son and you go off to England, for adventure, to take over, all this other stuff. And then, dang it, I lost my train of thought. Completely lost my train of thought as to why I was telling that story. Why did I bring up the son of the king? I was talking about cosmetics, the Raven Clan. I don't even remember. I'm so dumb. You ever be in the middle of a story and you're just thinking, oh yeah, that's a good point. And then you're in the middle of that story and then completely forget why you're telling that. I don't get why. Oh well, that's a thought that's gone forever, isn't it? Yeah, but they have like Asgardian themed longboats and Asgardian like pieces you can place around, and like this is a fictional world that you're presenting to me as fake, and then you want me to put those things into my real settlement that has nothing to do with the Raven Clan. I'm committed. Oh yeah. So yeah, sorry, I remembered now. His wife. So back in these days, people have to have arranged. Like back in these days, there were more arranged marriages. So there's an arranged marriage between the prince, my brother, adopted brother, or I'm the adopted brother, but still, regardless, and his wife. But then the the prince, he would go away for years on adventures, quests, all that stuff, and then so they were never. And this has happened all the time, I guess. So you wouldn't see your significant other for many winters. They would say many winters, and so there wasn't a closeness other than like the duty of being that person's wife. So she hits on me. She's very forward, but she used to be a warrior and then an adventurer, and then her father sold her off, had this arranged marriage with this king, and then to marry the prince, my brother, my adopted brother. And then so she hits on me, and then I have a choice to go along with it, to say I feel the same way, but it's not right, or I think we're just friends. So I pick, I like her, she's hot, she's cool, whatever. So I picked in the middle, didn't want to hurt her feelings, but I'm not going to betray my brother, right? And then at the beginning of the game, they have this prophecy that I'm going to betray my brother. And he has this, he sees Odin, the god, whatever, and the all-seer, the shaker of shields, whatever. You see this like image of him, and he tells you you're going to betray your brother, and you're like, no, I'm not going to betray him. And then I'm thinking that, this is the moment that I'm going to betray him, is to get with this girl. And so I'm going to say, no, he's my brother, he's been with me through thick and thin, I follow him, he's my my king, my jarl, whatever. I'm going to follow him to the ends of the earth. And then later in the story, spoilers, your brother starts talking to the assassins. There's one of the Assassin's Creed people, and he's talking about that person, the prince, being like this god among men, and he's buying into all this, and he's trying to get the jarl, the prince, your brother, to find these items of power. And so he's kind of like brainwashing him, and he completely turns, instead of alliancing with people in England, he turns this into like this quest for this super powerful object that he's trying to look for. Now your brother's kind of getting crazy, and you're disagreeing with him for the first time in your lives. And so I'm like, oh, okay, that I could have hooked up with the girl. They're not talking about that betrayal. They're talking about me obviously having to disagree with him because he's going crazy. That's what they're talking about, not because I hooked up with his main squeeze, so to speak. Oh, that water's good. So let me see. Waterfall, my likes. It was really cool. There was a just like the world. I said like a whole bunch right there. I enjoy the world building in the game. It seems lived in. So when they have certain games have had this wooden tower that you have to go to, and you look over the landscape, and then you can see far away places. They call it synchronization in the game. And so when you do that, you usually have to get up to a high point and do this. Well, there was this on top of a hill. There was this wooden tower built for no reason. And I'm thinking in my head, but like when I'm riding up to it, I'm thinking, in the game, this doesn't make sense. Why would someone just build a tall wooden tower? And it wasn't a tower where you could live in it. It's not a tower. It's just a bunch of like 4x4s put together. And it's basically built in such a way, like the skeletal structure of a tower built straight up. And then I find lumber laying around, and then I find a note saying that they were going to build a church here. and then that plans got removed, plans got canceled, and they found a better spot and they moved it elsewhere. So it was so as I'm thinking about that, the game answered it for me, and I was, oh, okay, got it. Okay, cool. So little things like that in this game. The game feels lived in. It feels like a real place. There's nothing really out of place in the game so far that I've seen. And then I think I found another note off of that site, out of that site, and it was talking about, it was a blacksmith area, and it was a note from the father to the son telling him that there was a canceled church up on the hill, and they left some supplies up there. Go get the supplies and bring them back, and we could use them. We can melt down the metal. We can reuse the wood and all this. I was like, there's just little things like that in the game, in games, can make the difference between a good game to like a great game or what have you. Mysteries are different enough to where I want to see. Oh yeah, so there's mysteries and side missions. They call them mysteries, but they're just side missions in the game. But the variety of them are awesome. It's amazing that the variety of them. They don't beat you in the head with the same kind of fetch quests. It's not, you don't come, I mean, you come across a lady that has an issue, and she, lost her cat, and then you have to go find the cat, and it's somewhere, and you bring it back, and then you meet another guy who needs his hunting knife, and then you go. So all it is basically go find this thing, bring it back. Go find this thing, bring it back. And that monotony in video games is so heavy, and it's so drawn out, and it's so annoying that it needs to change. It should change if you want people to, play your game throughout. And that's why people stop playing side missions, is because they're repetitive. Well, this game, a lot of the missions are different. A lot of those, and you obviously don't have to do them. They just add to the world in general. But there was an issue where this guy, he was talking about the rats. These rats infested his fields, and then you're like, okay, and he doesn't tell you how to fix it. He's like, I got this freaking rat problem, and so that there's a problem he has with rats, and then so you're searching around the area for. I'm lighting stuff on fire. I'm thinking if I light his fields on fire, the smoke would scare out the rats, and that doesn't work. So I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? And then I see this one lady screaming down the road a bit. And so I go up to her, and she's a cat lady. She's screaming at her cats to listen. I'm like, oh, cats kill rats. So let me see if, so when there was a locked room, there's something in the room, but she locked herself out. She wanted to get back into her house. So I got into her house for her, opened the door, and she's like, well, you can tell the neighbor who has an issue with cats, or issue with rats, that he could use my animals to get rid of his problem. So that fixed it. So then you see her cats actually go over near his house, chase the rats away. And then you talk to him, and he's like, oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Here, I have a reward for you. It's not much, but here it is. Little things like that. You walk up to a guy, and some people just have conversations. Some people are lonely. You walk up to some people. There's one really disturbing one where his house got raided while he was away. And when he came back home, his family was killed and burnt alive in the house, and they were still on fire. And he's a Viking, and I guess they have this no cry policy, that where if you cry, you're not a man, and all this stuff. And then they wonder why men have emotional problems. But he couldn't grieve for his family. And then as a Viking yourself, you give him permission to cry. And so when he just gets down on his knee, and at first, like, he doesn't know how to cry, and it sounds awkward and weird. And then he's just bawling, and you're watching this video game character bawl in front of this pile of wood that's on fire with these dead, see, I said the word again, with these dead bodies inside. And you're just like, this is a heavy moment. And then your character says, it's not a cutscene. You're participating in all of this. And so you start to walk away, and your character just says, I'll leave you to grieve. And it's this moment, like, holy shit, that was heavy. and these are characters that you don't get introduced to that are dead, and you just feel the weight and that the amazing acting that this one voice actor did in that scene. There was another one where you walk up to this guy, he's sitting under a tree, and I walked up from his left, so I'm looking at the left side of his body, and he's just sitting there. And then I go up to his front to talk, his face to talk to him, and he has an axe in his head. And I talk to him, and he refers to this battle that he was in a little while ago, that he got out unscathed, and he has this huge mental, obviously mental damage, and so he doesn't remember things clearly. He thinks he's fine. He's talking about going to Valhalla and be reunited with his family, and so you have a choice to leave him be, just to leave him alone, or to take the axe out. And of course, when you take the axe out of his head, he's going to die. But you kind of get the notion that he wants to die, that he wants this, to be over. So you pull the axe out of his head and he dies. And I'm like, and just a simple fact that you could pull it out or leave it there is cool. And then I wonder, if I left it in, will the mission be complete? That's what I want. I would like to see. I stuttered a lot there. I would like to see more games do that. These missions that give you a backstory but don't matter in the grand scheme of things, but you'll the fact that you'll let somebody live or not live, and it doesn't have a huge impact on the story. Maybe you'll see them in that area in the future, but it just doesn't truly matter. But it matters to you as a player, being immersed, I guess you can say, into the story. But then there's silly ones where there's one that glitched, and I don't think I'll be able to fix it. You have to take these vases, these jars full of basically shit out of this house without breaking it. But then you have to move these cupboards. Well, the cupboard is stacked on top of these vases, and you can't move the cupboard. It's like this weird video game glitch. So I think that mystery will go unsolved, because I can't break any of the vases, and I can't interact with that shelf because it appeared on top of the vases. So it's just this weird thing. But the story's good in the game. The environments are awesome. I'm getting a little too nerdy, because when you have this little coat, you have armor and everything. Then you have this cloth that kind of goes over your shoulders. And then when it rains, the game, it rains and it snows. It doesn't really snow, but it rains. When you're in there's cities where you can't go. And so they're always looking for Vikings or Danes. And then there's cities where you can hide into. It's like distrust. So they're not really against you, but they're not really for you either. And those are the cities that you have to kind of blend in. You have to hide. You can still do your business without fighting. So they're basically like stealth missions or stealth cities. So you put your hood on and your cloak or whatever, you put it on and you're hiding. And that's the only time really the cloak goes on. But in my head, I'm thinking, hey, when it rains, I should put something over my head, because people would do that. So anytime it rains, I put the cloak on, and then when it stops raining, I take it off. Real nerdy. And then when the game has you go swimming, I take everything off except my pants. And so I have this shirtless guy, and he goes swimming, because they wouldn't swim with all that armor on. It'll slow them down. All that fur, you're gonna swim around with all that wool on you? I don't think so. Not likely to me. I'm getting a little too nerdy, because I already, if I go into a big battle or a raid, you have a helmet. You can put the helmet on. And then when the raid's over, I take it off in battle or after the battle. If I get into a serious battle, I pull out my my shield. So it all feels different. So when I'm going through a village, taking apart easy guys, I just have my axe and I don't really care. And then when like a boss comes, I'm like, oh shit. Then I get my sword out. Then it feels like a battle. I have to sit there. I have to dig my heels in. And it's just an added layer kind of gameplay that I'm adding to it. I try not to fast travel. unless it's real far. Try to use the boats a lot. Just make the game seem more real, last longer, have more of a kind of like a staying, have more of a, not like, have more of a staying impact. So I'm really digging the game, really liking the whole Viking aspect to it. I'm using different weapons. Right now I'm using a dagger because I only had an axe in my right hand. You can dual wield. You can put a shield in your left. You can switch it. You can put a see, like again. You can put a hammer in your left, axe in your right, and you can even switch them and you do different attacks. But right now I'm messing around with a dagger that I got in my right hand. I'm gonna do that for a little while, and then switch to maybe a spear or whatever. All the different attacks, there's different strategies to each weapon, damage differences, and it's just a really, really cool game. Highly recommend it. We're getting to about an hour here. I've talked way too much about Valhalla. I probably will next week as well. And Cyberpunk, it's right here in front of me. I'm waiting. I'm probably going to play a little bit of it tonight. Looking forward to it. I'm also looking forward to talking to you guys next week. This has been the 31st episode of the Chase Carter Concept Podcast. I appreciate the 5 to 10 people who listen to this each and every week. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Any kind of feedback would be appreciated. Unless you're a family member, then shut your stinking mouths. I appreciate it. Thank you. You guys have a good week. You got this shit knocking, bro.